awesome because it's easy. It does all the thinking for me and I don't have to try that hard, but they still turn out. There are, though, some tips and tricks that can help you take better photos with the default camera app, and we are going to go through those today. We're at the Calgary Stampede. Let's check it out. The great thing about shooting a video here is there's lots of photos to take for our examples, but the trade-off is the audio is really noisy, so you're going to have to forgive me on this one. The first thing I want to talk about is launching the camera. If you don't already know this simple trick to get into it quickly, all you have to do is swipe to the left on the home screen or press and hold the camera icon. You've probably already seen this before, I don't need to tell you, but there are some people out there that aren't aware of this tip. Anyway, let's get into some more advanced ones. Fortunately, Apple made it really easy to set the exposure. You just tap on your subject and then that's what's exposed and in focus. But sometimes it can be a little more subtle than that, so this is a good exception. It's really backlit, the sky is much brighter than this funhouse, and let's say that we want to use Smart HDR to have all of it exposed correctly. So if we tap on the funhouse, you can see the sky just totally clips. There is nothing left there, not ideal. So what I should do is tap on the sky and then lift the exposure by dragging up. And now I have both and they both look good. I kind of wish that Apple would separate the focus and exposure because sometimes you don't want them to be in the exact same place, but this is a good trick to make sure that you see everything correctly in your image. Whoa, that's huge. Awesome, thanks so much. All right, have you guys heard of RAW? There's this feature that Apple announced a little while ago where it takes a RAW photo with your iPhone. Now the feature was there before, like you could take RAW photos, but they're really hard to process. Now Apple's made it easy so that other software can quickly integrate with it, so you get all of the additional data of RAW and the smart processing with Smart HDR. It's a whole lot of smarts all baked into one. If you want to turn on Apple Pro RAW, you go into Settings, Camera, Formats, and here it is, Apple Pro RAW. And then it's not on all the time by default. You still have to set a preference here. You can turn it on and off on a per photo basis. So I just leave this little menu item up in the top and turn it on when I really want it. So RAW should just be better, right? Like why not shoot it all the time, higher quality? Well, it's not that simple. The files are bigger and you have all of the same dynamic range when you shoot in JPEG. Basically, RAW just gives you more flexibility in post. So especially if you're not confident about the white balance or it's low light, RAW photos are a little bit sharper and the trade-off is a bit more noise. So if you don't know where we are, this is the Calgary Stampede. It is a huge festival that happens here and it did not happen last year, which was really weird because it's like 100 years old and it always happens. Anyway, I'm really glad that it's back because, you know, we just never miss it and the city feels alive again. So along the bottom where you switch between photo and video mode, there is a hidden menu that Apple's kind of buried. If you swipe up, you're gonna find things like exposure compensation, which I use a lot. Basically, anytime you're looking for a menu item, it's probably hiding down here at the bottom. Really easy to miss, easy to forget about even once you know it's there, so just try to remember. If you can't find something, just swipe up. All our photos today are being shot on either the iPhone 12 Pro or the iPhone 12. Try to spot which is which. They're kind of similar. I did a whole video comparing the two of them, but whichever one you have, the best place to get a case for that phone is Caseify.com/Tyler Stallman, the sponsor of today's video. And by the way, is there a better possible case for the purple 12 than this pure color impact case that tone matches it? And it doesn't just look good. Caseify protects your phone from basic dings that you get walking around, but also the big drops that don't happen that often, but you're really nervous when they do. With a Caseify impact case, you don't have to be so nervous. It's gonna survive. You can feel good about the fact that the materials inside this plastic are 50% recycled. Caseify now has MagSafe compatible cases, so as long as you see this design on the inside, it means that any MagSafe accessories will work on the back of your phone, even with the case on it. And there's some really cool tripod accessories for this as well, so you can just like snap it on and off. It's great for photographers. But it's not just gonna protect it, it's also gonna look great. They have tons of different designs so you can match whatever your personality is, or the color of your phone. You can put custom graphics on it, like your name, for example. They're also always doing these cool collaborations with other brands, so keep checking back to the website and see what's just come out lately. Whatever you're into, there is a Caseify case for you. So when you want to go buy one, go to Caseify.com/Tyler Stallman. You're gonna get 15% off. So go do it right now, and thanks again to Caseify for sponsoring this video. Portrait mode is a cool way to make your iPhone look like a more expensive camera, so you get that blurry background, but sometimes it can look a little fake and digital, so a trick I like to use to make it more realistic is just to turn it down a bit. If I tap edit in the top corner here, I can either turn portrait mode off completely, or what I like to do is if you tap this F with the number, you could change it from the default. So if I move all the way to this side, to the lowest number, it's a very blurry background, super fake looking. I like to make it as subtle as possible and just has that little bit of separation without looking digital. Even at its lowest setting, portrait mode still kind of separates the subject from the background and makes it look a little more interesting. Next time you're taking a selfie, there's a button that's really easy to miss, but very helpful. Just tap it and you get a whole lot wider. This wider setting is using the full sensor of the camera, otherwise you're just cropping in on the image, which you could do later if you want it anyway, so we always keep it wide. Ever since Apple added the ultra-wide lens, when you're using the normal lens, they add this blurry preview on the outside of what you might be missing outside of the frame. I don't like this. It kind of confuses, like, what is this photo really? So I like to go into settings and turn off view outside the frame. You're not missing out on any features that the camera actually uses. It just simplifies your viewing experience and has less opportunity for confusion. And while I'm in settings, I also like to turn on view grids. It really helps for composing, getting things centered, and understanding the rule of thirds. I'm sure you've noticed that there's a circle with some numbers at the bottom. That's the amount of zoom. So if you tap it, you're going to zoom in and out. I know that not everybody is aware that if you slide your fingers left and right, you can instantly zoom across the whole range. It's a fun party trick, especially for a crash zoom in a video. You know, the only thing nicer than this view right now is your view. Why don't you hit that subscribe button? Thanks, guys. I've also got some general photography advice. Anywhere you are, anywhere in the world, just go as high up as you can because you're gonna get the better view. It's always worth it. You can press the volume buttons as a shutter button. That's a feature on iPhone. So if you're ever taking a selfie, it can get you a little more reach away from yourself and you're still securely holding the phone. If you haven't tried the live photos feature before, I recommend checking it out. It's really easy to use. You just tap the little circle icon in the top right, and all of a sudden you get little videos added onto each photo. So there's some motion to the photos that you're taking, but you can do so much more than that. So after you've taken the photo, let's go into the Photos app, look at our picture, and this image has a lot of people walking through it. None of them are really the focus of it. So what we can do is swipe up and look for where it says long exposure. This takes all of the frames from the video and makes it look like you had a longer exposure, so there's motion blur. It opens up a bunch of new opportunities using the default camera app, and you can change it later. You don't even have to think of it when you're taking the photo. Okay, now it's the fun part, time for night mode, which is one of the best newer features on iPhones. Basically, it's a long exposure, but does a lot more than that, and you can tweak some of the settings. So to make sure that it's on, you check that top left button, that little circle that looks like a moon, and it presents a slider menu at the bottom. What the slider's doing is setting the shutter speed. So how long is the shutter open? The longer, the brighter. Now, to get the most brightness out of night mode, you're gonna need a tripod. Either a tripod or just lean your phone against something stable to keep it for the whole exposure. The gyroscopes inside will know if the phone is moving too much to have a sharp image. And so in our example here, there is no light on Anya. She's actually really dark in this, but we can turn it up to the maximum length and the image gets way brighter than it would on its own. But if that's not enough for you guys, there's a whole other playlist of photography tips. So click on that right now. I promise it's gonna be good.